killing girlfriends and boyfriends and freaking, I mean, just insane stuff, and morticians taking bodies. And
it had to have been easier to get away with murder back then than it is now.
When?
Oh,
yeah,
when?
So much
in the 80s
easier.
and 90s.
Oh,
and,
today,
it's impossible now.
Today, whoever killed the two would be all over video.
No, you
if it was
can get
OJ,
away with it, but it's got to be a random murder.
Yeah.
If you kill somebody you know, more than likely, you're going to get caught.
If it was OJ, it would have been an open and closed case because you would have had video of him parking somewhere. You would have had Ring doorbell videos from all over that neighborhood of him.
Search histories.
You'd have had search histories. You would have had. I mean, it probably doesn't even go to trial. He probably just pleads guilty. But that day and age just didn't have any of that. There was no video evidence that I'm aware of.
You know, back to the mortician, he's got like this handbook. I forgot what it's called, but a lot of people went to it like in the 70s and 80s, how to dispose bodies. And so there was no paper trail. Like you could go to a Little Professor and buy a book on, I doubt they carry it, but in L.A., I'm sure all the Little Professors carried it. But that was kind of the manual back then, so there was no paper trails.
Yeah, they could do like they do in Deadwood back in the old days, just feed them to the pigs.
Nothing's left, right?
Nothing's left.
Yeah.
My dad stopped a serial killer that was using, his motive was to use a screwdriver. But everyone thought it was a bullet entering, and they could never find the bullet. But he was able to find the screwdriver, and that's how they were able to sort of track him down.
It should be noted, Melton's father was a very well-respected homicide detective in Birmingham, city of Birmingham.
That is correct. Yeah.
City of Birmingham Police.
You know, and our oldest brother, Shane, has never met Tim. But my oldest brother, Shane, was a Birmingham cop for 10 years, and he speaks highly of Tim's father.
Very well respected. His dad is. Yeah. Didn't he solve some like long cold case?
Oh yeah, no, he was really really good at what he did, and he actually had to go out to L.A. to testify in a couple of cases of like serial killers who had made their way over there. So
wow,
yeah. It was a different time back then.
I wish I'd met his dad.
So he was an expert witness in those cases?
Yeah.
Did you ever think about following his footsteps? I mean, a lot of kids do.
Yeah, I did.
Do you enjoy watching that genre of shows and movies, or do you find them to be so out of whack from knowing the real side of them?
No, I like them. They're very interesting, but I figured, if there's one person I want to watch killing it every day, it's Jim Dunaway live in person. That's what I decided to do.
I'm only here 9 to 12.
I don't know if you're trying to deflect and you don't want to talk about this.
No, there's no trauma.
Did your dad, did he struggle? Like a lot of cops struggle, and especially when you see that kind of stuff every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Later in life, for sure. Yeah. He would have visions of policemen that he had worked with, or he also served in Vietnam, so, I mean, he got the daily double there. So,
Welcome, Braves Country, to the Pennant Grace. Minus the grace. It's okay. I got plenty of grace. A lot of people think of me as graceful. Tim Milton behind the glass. Tim, when you think of adjectives, for me, graceful would come up pretty soon, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like a gazelle.
I am graceful, full of grace. Gazelle, not the best. Gazelles have such... E.G.'s a gazelle. She's got those long legs.
Oh, okay.
I have very short legs.
All right. You're like a wounded walrus.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm as graceful as a wounded walrus. Short legs, short arms. Sport coat shopping recently had a bit of difficulty. Short arms.
I have the reverse problem.
You would not know anything about that, Tim. So E.G. on assignment in Tuscaloosa. That's okay. We're holding it down here. And we're going to talk about the Atlanta Braves. And you may not want to talk about the Atlanta Braves, but I'm sorry. That's what we're going to talk about today is the Atlanta Braves, because that's what we do here on the Pennant Grace. Pennant Grace brought to you, as always, by Roback. There was a time in my life where I had worn some shirts that I'm not super proud of. Check out the collar on this. Crisp, straight as an arrow collar. You know, you ever had where the collar's all floppy and it loses its shape and form? Shirt gets faded. I've done that. I don't like to admit it, but I've done that because I've been on those highs and lows, wined and dined with kings and queens, and slept in alleys and dined on pork and beans. Not anymore. I'm out of the alley, and I'm in the penthouse with Roback Roback.com, enter code PG20, and save 20% off your first order. Roback.com, code PG20. As we sit today on this fine Tuesday, the Atlanta Braves are 31-39. They are third in the NL East, 13 games back of the New York Mets, who they begin a series with tonight, and 7.5 games back on the wild card. They've won their previous 2 series, but they're 4-6 in their last 10, which is pretty indicative of where they are this season. So let's recap the Rockies series. Again, you may not want to do that, but we got to do it. We do the hard things here on the Pennant Grace. Game 1 was a 12-4 win. Now, as we go through some of these, we all have to keep in mind the state of the Colorado Rockies. Worst team in Major League Baseball by a considerable margin. But Braves get a 12-4 win. They score 11 of those 12 in the 6th, 7th, and 8th. Very strange game, like a tale of 2 games almost in that game, because they're not getting anything done. The Rockies aren't really piling on, but they've got the lead. And then, it's looking that it's not going to go the Braves' way. Wow, what a horrible start if the Braves lose game 1. Bryce Elder was not good. Only went 3.1 innings, 7 hits, and he gave up all 4 of those runs. So the Braves losing 4-1, and then they just explode. 11 runs in the 6th, 7th, and 8th innings. Michael Harris II was 2 for 4. He had a home run, 3 RBIs. Matt Olson, 3 for 4 with a double and 3 RBIs. And your National League Player of the Week, Ronald Acuña Jr., 3 for 4, a double, a walk, and his first steal of the year. Marcell Ozuna, who is currently, at least, the Braves' designated hitter, got it all. Harris got it started, and Ozuna took the lead. I think that was the on the home runs. I think that was the order of it. Great team effort there, overcome a bad starting pitching performance and get the win. Game 2, 4-1 win, and that was not a tale of 2 games. That was total domination from start to beginning. Story of that game, obviously, was Spencer Strider with his greatest performance of the year so far. He went 6 full innings, 0 earned runs, and 13 strikeouts, on way to a franchise total record of 19 strikeouts in that game. Rafael Montero was a big part of that, by the way. This, for those longtime Pennant Grace fans will remember, Rafael Montero is the player that prompted EG to text me, "Who is this?" early in the season. He's Rafael Montero, and he went 2 full innings, 0 hits, 0 earned runs, and 4 strikeouts. That was really cool to see. And again, best player on the team, maybe the best player in baseball, Ronald Acuña Jr., 2 for 3 with a home run, a walk, and 2 RBIs. We're cooking at this point. Friday, Saturday, we're doing what we need to do. We are winning these games against the Colorado Rockies. We're beating up on this bad team. We're bullying them. Bullying is bad in society now, but not in baseball. It's good. We like to bully. Outstanding point in the chat from Smuff. Strider with velocity. It makes all of the difference for him when he's hitting 98 plus. That is absolutely correct. And obviously that is not what we've seen. He hasn't reached that velocity. And being a tick or 2 off has made a big difference for him. Incredibly encouraging to see Spencer Strider hit this velocity, and the results speak for themselves. Everything is great. We're setting the stage for Sunday, which is Father's Day. We're going to get that sweep. It's Father's Day. It's a special day. Braves have scored 16 runs in the first 2 games. Grant Holmes on the mound. We're going to get that sweep. What if I told you, okay, when this game Grant Holmes on the mound. Grant Holmes is going to get you 15 strikeouts on his own. Grant Holmes is going to get you 15 strikeouts. Well, no problem. Let's go ahead and circle the wagons, start the celebration, because the Braves got the sweep, because Grant Holmes got 15 strikeouts. No. The Braves lost, and not only did they lose, they lost 10-1. Your starting pitcher struck out 15 batters, and you lost 10-1. You gave up 10 runs. That is crazy. Smuff wasted a crazy start from Grant Holmes to get blown out by perhaps the worst team in baseball. Not perhaps. Oh, he says worst team in the history of Major League Baseball. That is a perhaps, and it could be. We'll see what ends up going on the rest of the season. But a historically bad team. They scored 10 runs. Grant Holmes was 6.1 innings pitched. He had 2 earned runs, so 2 of those 10. 15 strikeouts, as we said, only 2 walks. The Rockies, 6 runs in the 7th alone. And it ruined Father's Day. Tim Melton is a father, as I am, and interested to know if Tim had a good Father's Day.
I did have a good Father's Day, Ush.
I was going to have a good Father's Day until the Atlanta Braves showed up.
There you go.
And ruined Father's Day.
Turd in the punch bowl.
The proverbial turd in the punch bowl. Everything was going great. I was happy as could be. Wonderful time together, family. Went to church, went to eat. My wife agreed to stay in the room while I watched the Braves. Said, you don't have to watch, just be in the room. She fell asleep. I'm happy for her because she missed that. And she made the best peach pie I've ever had in my entire life. My favorite dessert, probably pie with ice cream. And that's what we had. Peach pie with vanilla ice cream. That's number 1 for me on desserts, I would say. Pie with ice cream. Number 2, probably cake with ice cream. Notice common denominator there. All the makings for a great Father's Day. Not so fast, my friends. So some talk, Robert and Smuff there, about why Holmes was pulled. Yes, pitch count was getting up. 3rd time through the order. But 93, Smuff says 93 pitches when he was pulled after walking guy in the 7th. Yes. So it started out the inning. He was looking a little shaky. I did not hate the move, but Braves offense just could not get anything going. Now you go from facing the worst team in baseball to the best team in the National League and second to Detroit in terms of having the best record in all of Major League Baseball. The 45-27 NL East leading New York Metropolitans. Pitching lineups, by the way, for that. Game 1, David Peterson brings a 5-2 record, 2.49 ERA. Take on Spencer Schwellenbach, who's been pitching very, very well. He's 5-4 with a 3.11 ERA. Game 2, also 6-15, Paul Blackburn. He is 0-0 and has a gaudy 6.75 ERA. He takes on Chris Sale. 4-4 with a 2.79. We have had a Mets fan that was in the chat. No, he's still there. Everyday Mets. Don't forget, y'all moved Chris Sale off Sunday to face the Mets. I actually wasn't a part of that decision. As I don't really actually work for the Braves in the front office. But they did do that purposely to line up Chris Sale not only to pitch against the Mets, because you have Mets in Atlanta, and then you're going to have them again in Flushing later in the month, and I think it maybe lines up too for him as far as to pitch against the Phillies. So the smart move by my part, pitch your best pitcher against your best teams that you're facing. Game 3, so all 6:15 first pitches, that's Central Standard Time, is Clay Holmes. He's 7-3 with a 2.87, taking on the aforementioned Spencer Strider. 1-5 with a 4.35 coming off his best start of the season. If Atlanta were to inexplicably make the postseason and you're looking at a who would be your 3 starters, I think it would not be in that exact order, but I do think it'd be those 3. I think you'd go Sale, and then depending on if he continues to progress, Strider, and then Schwellenbach. I think that would be your 3 in some order. So after that, you have 3 in Miami. This is how June is going to wrap up. 3 in Miami, 4, as I mentioned, in Flushing. So 3-game series with the Mets at home, and then 4 there in New York. 3 at Truist against the Phillies, and then the Braves are off on the 30th. So that's how the month finishes up. Miami, New York, starting tonight. Miami, New York again, Philly, and that's the month. Pretty tough month. Looking at destiny. What is the Braves' destiny? Darth Vader talked a lot about destiny to his son, Luke Skywalker. And he wanted him to join the dark side because he said, Luke, that's your destiny. You're destined to join the dark side. What is Atlanta, the 2025 Atlanta Braves, what are they destined to do? Trade deadline and just the remainder of the season. So, important to look at what all is going on in the National League, knowing how limited those playoff spots are. Teams with winning records in the National League. There are 4 NL West teams with winning records. So everyone but the Rockies. So you have the worst team in baseball, and then you have 4 teams with winning records. You also have 4 NL Central teams with winning records. Okay, so everyone but Pittsburgh. St. Louis, the Milwaukee Brewers, who the Braves just saw, and Cincinnati, and the Chicago Cubs, who most people had pegged at the beginning of the season. 4 NL Central teams with winning records, and then 2 in the NL East with the Mets and Phillies. So the East, obviously not as deep, but I do think you have, to me, 2 of the front runners to win the pennant in the Phillies and the Mets, along with the Dodgers. It is crowded, and it is going to be very, very hard to crack this one open where you're at. So we're over halfway through June, and you're 31-39. It's going to be a challenge. They're 18th, the Braves. They are 18th in your batting average in Major League Baseball at 245. And if you look, if you have the Braves app or just MLB.com, whatever you do, and look at the roster and look at those stats, you're going to be hard-pressed to find guys batting higher than that, than 245. So Acuña obviously is, Riley, Drake Baldwin, and then right above that at 255, Alex Verdugo, actually. That's it. Those are the players they have that are batting higher than 245. They are 15th in Major League Baseball in home runs, which has been a strength of this team, a vital part of the makeup of this team for several years now. So 18th in average, 15th in home runs, not looking good. I said Marcell Ozuna, one of those players batting higher, just above that actually at 253. He has 35 RBIs and 11 home runs. He's got an OPS of 810. In trying to determine the destiny of the team and the identity of the team, buyers, sellers, or nothing. I do think that if a move is made, that is the most likely, that Marcell Ozuna is traded. Don't know if it'll happen or not, but if I had to bet, I would bet it probably does. I'm sure the Braves would love to hear something, be very open to something on Raciel Iglesias, who's moved out of the closer role, and his last couple of appearances have been very good. He would need several more of those, I would think, to garner enough interest. But I don't know how many teams are going to be in the market for him. I talked about even Ozzie Albies on Thursday's show. I don't know how many people are going to be in the market for Ozzie as much as he's struggled. But there will be a lot of teams. And Smuff mentions the hip. Even with the hip, there's going to be a lot of teams that would benefit from having Marcell in their lineup. So I do think there'd be a lot of attention there. It just depends on if you're getting him for a rental, what people are willing to give up. So Ronald Acuña Jr. is batting .390. As I mentioned, he was the player of the week in the National League. He's got 7 home runs and 13 RBIs. Drake Baldwin would be next in batting average. He's batting .287. He's got 7 home runs, 19 RBIs. And Austin Riley, .281 with 11 home runs and 36 RBIs. So Acuña, Riley, Baldwin, those are the guys that have been really leading the team offensively. And obviously, none of those three are going anywhere. I feel like the destiny of the team is to be a lower mid-tier, non-playoff team. They're not going to, I don't think, hit some kind of skid where they're just absolutely terrible and down there with a team like Colorado or Pittsburgh. But I don't. It's really hard to see them making the playoffs. And they have had these years recently where you'd be below 500, could not get above 500. You go to the All-Star break, you're a game or two below, and then, go on a run and make it. They are totally capable of pulling something like this off. But it's really hard to see it right now, isn't it? It just is. Tough to see. You don't gain a lot. Even if you swept Colorado, you don't gain a whole lot from that. You're not going to get much respect on your name for sweeping the Rockies. So we'll see what they can do tonight. I love who the Braves are going to have on the mound for these 3 games. They're giving the Mets their 3 best starters. But we all know that it's going to take a balanced effort. You're going to need the starter, you're going to need the bullpen, and you're going to need the bats to come alive against a really, really good Mets team. So we'll be back Thursday. We'll be able to look at games 1 and 2 and preview game 3 of this Mets series, and then more ahead. And EG will be joining us. She will be back in this seat. I'm just keeping it warm for her. In the meantime, make sure you check out rowback.com. For those that crave activity, rowback.com, and on your first order, enter code PG20. It'll save you 20% off your entire order. Rowback.com, code PG20. We'll be back with you Thursday at 12:15. See you then.
When he came in against Georgia, and that was a